The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. It's not stopping. Is South Africa preparing to go to war with Rwanda? According to Julius Malema, they need to invest more in their army. That the country South Africa is at risk. And that is why a very small country like Rwanda can just talk to them anyhow and there will not be any response from Cyril Ramaphosa. That look at the peace deal that they went and signed in the United States of America Oval Office, that they are going to end whatever that is happening in DRC. But Paul Kagame still continues with the bombing. That he's having backup from Britain, from Israel, and from the United States of America. So for that matter, he does anything that he wants. Because he knows that when anything happens, these three nations will come and back him. So they need to also equip their army so that the army will be strong in case of anything. And that sometimes the diplomacy of Cyril Ramaphosa is okay. That the two of them, their leadership style is different. And if he was the president, South Africa would be better off, especially when it comes to the army. And that looking at what happened during the G20, Cyril Ramaphosa did excellent. We saw what happened during the G20 when the United States of America decided not to participate, simply because they claimed that there were whatever genocide in South Africa. But Cyril Ramaphosa did very well by responding to the United States of America in a very diplomatic way, which was best because they need to show the world who they are.
If I were president, I will never be sheepish in front of the US attack on South Africa, never. First thing I would have dealt with properly is that thing of Rwanda of killing our people by Kagame, killing our soldiers. Till today, we have not responded to that situation. Now the report has come out. Only 27% of our soldiers are fit for purpose. It's not me. When I say it, I get insulted and be told he's putting the country at risk, and we are at risk. We need to turn around the military of South Africa. We need to put more money in the military of South Africa. What is the point putting all monies into all of these things when you can be walloped by a small country like Rwanda? Humiliate you to a point where the president of Rwanda makes no apology about it. He continues to insult us till to date. Till to date. And there is no response. Well, me and Ramaphosa leadership style is different. He does his own things his own way. Sometimes they work, most of the times they don't work. Like that diplomacy of his was needed now. Because we owed it not only to Trump, we owed it to the world to be hospitable to our visitors, and we're exactly that, and never shown a sign of a panicking nation which is under siege by America. So you should know that I will never be sheepish. I want to express our views. It doesn't matter how much veto powers they've got in the Security Council. We want to sit as a permanent member of the Security Council and challenge this thing of veto powers. We know we are not wanted there, but we want to sit there. We're not going to retreat about that. We're not going to retreat that because we're not the G20 necessarily. There's no one who doesn't want us in the G20 except this fool. It's this guy who's got a problem with us, and by extension America. And America is not a G20. We are a founding member of the G20, and no one is going to push us away. We are going to mobilize international communities to condemn Trump's action, we still have a year where we need to mobilize communities. I want to say it here without any fear of contradiction. Ramaphosa handled this saga very well. If it was me, it would have been worse. He did. That's what you see, that's the thing with diplomacy and radicalism and all of that. You ought to strike a balance. The guy handled that thing very well, very successfully, in a situation where he was confronted by serious hostility. It's not easy to fight America. It has never been easy. But like Fidel Castro, we are not going to retreat. Castro, under serious difficulties, under embargo by America now for more than 60 years. Cuba, without toilet papers. You know, in Cuba, when you go to a toilet, those things of toilet papers, you call them what? Ply. They count them for you. That thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, cut it and give you. They don't give you that thing of the whole roll to the bathroom. That's how much bad it is. And we agreed with the TG that we need to join the mission of the Communist Party to send food worth 1 million to Cuba. We are suffering, we are poor, deep slaughter, but we are in a much better position compared to those comrades in Cuba. Why are they suffering like that? Because they decided to take an ideological position against imperialist forces led by America. We must take inspiration from those people. And where we can help the Cubans, let's do that. I said to the TG, if we ask, because ours is very clear, that thing of declaring money to the IEC and nonsense is a mission of the Oppenheimers to see who's funding the EFF. I said to TG, we need to find the individuals who can each give us 99,000 rand, not more than the threshold, so that we don't get to distolose them. Put that money together, buy food, and send to Cuba. That's who we are. Insult us anyhow you want. We build houses for disabled people when we've got houses, because their pain is our pain. So when we do that, you must know we are doing that against America. It will never like that. But are we going to retreat because America doesn't want us to do that? Never. Even if America decides that I should no longer enter America, it's okay, I will enter Zimbabwe, I'll enter Botswana, I'll enter Nigeria, I'll enter Africa, my home. Why should I be concerned about people who are going to feed me beggars and make me fat when I can go to Nigeria and eat jollof? Nice, nom nom, nice food. So why must I fight for beggars instead of jollof? When we're in Nigeria, you must guess Jews there. We're given a nice jollof rice and what is that good soup? Pepper soup by the governor of that state, Enugu State. La la. My guy, we were sweating but we're not stopping. Sweating but not stopping. That's how nice Africa is. So you want to threaten me that you won't give me a visa to America or give me a visa to London? I don't care. I'll go to Africa and enjoy the company of my own people. One day this will come to an end. Even if it's not achieved under me, I must lay a foundation for those who come after me, that we must not hero worship America, so to an extent that when we are threatened that we can't get visas, we retreat on our ideological position. Fidel went to the grave. I went to bury him. He didn't have a visa to America. So who am I? Comrades, local government elections were fighting. It's not about local government elections only. It's for the survival of the EFF. Because if it took a knock in 2024 and it does the same in 2026, it must know that is a way out of the South African politics. So don't ask me about strategies. No. You can't ask me that. Just know we're fighting. And at the center of our fight, and central where resources will be put highly, is in the Eastern Cape. We have been sleeping in that province, and we're not going to have a provincial leadership that is going to sleep in that province. Someone asked me, are the provinces, that Eastern Cape leadership, if it's not going to change its attitude, it will watch this EFF from Reverend Zondo's church in Mid-Val. Is it Val or Mid-Val or somewhere there? Because that's where people are frequenting. The only person who's able to bring numbers for them is the congregation of Reverend Zondo. We have no place here for people who want prayers. Want prayers? Zondo is waiting for you there. In return, you shall march in his support for his rape case when he appears in court. Not here. Here, we are not going to loiter around with people of no value and substance. The performance in the by-election of Ekurhuleni yesterday has been sanctioned here now, 2 o'clock, when we're finishing. They are coming here. They must explain what happened. We are in that era where if you lose a single vote of the EFF, you have to come here and explain why. And why must we keep you? Because there are clowns who are running around here in Gauteng and then who are more into monies than the actual organizational work. So we're not going to harbor such people in the EFF who are going to bring an ANC tendency. Because what made the ANC decline, I can tell you now without fear, it doesn't sanction mediocrity and laziness, ill-discipline. You know, I was in the ANC when I was going through my problems of SARS, of the criminal case in Limpopo and all of that. And then we'll go to the NEC, and on Sunday I'll be in the front pages of all newspapers. Not a single person will ask me, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing the things you're doing? Can you explain this? In the NEC, they will all be there. The president will be there. Everyone will be there. They will still pass like nothing happened. I can tell you now, Begi Kele was at the NGC of the ANC. I can tell you now, no one asked him, why did you take Kat's money, Matala's money? Why did you sleep at Matala? No one. They will never do that in the ANC. Hold you accountable. I went to school after the ANC because no one in the ANC has ever said to me, why are you not going to school? Why are you loitering around with this woodwork thing? You are still young. To a credit anyway is Naledi Pandu. After I said to her, I said something bad about her. And then I couldn't sleep that evening. My grandmother called me, said, but you don't speak like that about an older person, especially if this person is not speaking like that out of her own wish. That's who she is. You have to go to that woman and apologize to her. We went there with Pulema. I used to have a good friend in the ANC called Good Pulema. We looked for her and she called us somewhere. She was in a meeting. We went. And I went to apologize to her. Puli was there. And I can't remember if Magatka was there or whoever. Then after we spoke for too long, she said, no, I understand you. It's okay. I understand. That's fine. Can you all excuse us? Go outside. And she said to me, Julius, why are you not going to school? You're too young. Go to school. No one has ever said that to me. And that's what declined. That's what led to the decline of the ANC. They never hold anyone accountable. We catch a boy who has been fraudulently using his qualifications in the NYDA, wanting to be a chairperson of an NYDA from Pumalanga, is the TG of the Youth League. I can guarantee you now, no one has called that boy after that expose in Parliament. No one in the ANC has called that boy, come here. What is this nonsense? You see, this one who's chairing the press conference here, he doesn't have a driver's license. Doesn't have. In the past CCT, his issue was a subject of discussion. How are you going to drive around and serve the people? Because driving is not luxury, it's a necessity. It's a life skill. It's like swimming. Someone was asking me, do not swim here, Mara, Udunde, in those rivers. Someone asked him, he will never leave this EFF and say, but you are in the EFF and you don't know how to drive. And he says, he won't say, I will never. You must ask him, Mbuyiseni, actually. I said to Mbuyiseni, you have to drive. Mbuyiseni says, why? I don't see a need. I can find my way around and do all of those sorts of things. And you are going to get in that taxi. You're going to find some crazy fanatic of Jacob Zuma who's going to press you at the beggar. What is that nonsense you are speaking about? Jacob Zuma in Parliament? What? It is not only that necessity and life skill, it's also security. I'm not saying buy Ferrari, I'm saying drive. You can go and ask him. He refused. And he once said to me, you know, Mbuyiseni is smart. You can't take that away from him. And he says to me, I can drive. I mean, if you just give me the theory of how you do this thing, I can drive. So one day, we were at Marikana, where they shot people. We were preparing for something of the EFF. There's a comrade of ours called Sam. He's now a pastor. I don't know where Sam is. Chavala. He came with a cabriolet there at Marigan. So I said, Mbuyiseni, you once said you can drive. Sam, show this guy. Don't get in with him. Show him what he must do, and you know where they shot our people in Marikana, it's an open thing. Then we said to Mbuyiseni, get in. He got in, and then he started driving, and he drove first time successful like that. I think he was being driven by the spirit of our people in Marikana. And then he was making runs. The way it was so nice, he didn't want to stop. When we were like, man, we have to stop now. With all his qualifications, he still lacked something that we needed to tell him. There's this thing. Look after this. There's no such a thing. So in the EFF, we are not going to let that go. Till today, Vuskoza is still crying about a bus because we asked him, we held him accountable. Why didn't you fetch your people from where you stay to FNB, where our people, all of them, ought to be? Why? I couldn't provide an answer, and he was held accountable. He can hate us anyhow he wants. We we hold each other accountable. That's what we do. And that's our local government election strategy. The provinces have got a mandate now. You are not going to file a report that says this councillor is lazy, when we deploy them is not responsive. If you file a report like that, we hold you accountable because we gave you power over them. We want you to come with a report that says this councillor did not do 1, 2, 3 and we acted this way. But everything else must be fair. I'm not related to Ket Matlala. Ket Matlala and my wife share a surname. Sibongo Fanana. There are a lot of people like that. That's why I said to him in that present jokingly that when he was trying to define his relationship with the head of Hawks in KZN, I'm forgetting his name, he said it's like a brother to me. Actually, his wife is a cousin. No, not a cousin. Actually, his wife, what will I say? His wife and me share the same surname. And I said to him, at the radio you're going to call me your cousin. And he said, yeah, you are my cousin. But I'm not. And my wife is not related to Ket Matlala. And the definition of Ket Matlala, of where they come from Nebo, the Skukuni side. My wife's Matlalas don't come from Skukuni side. There are two Matlalas. They are the ones of Skukuni, they are the ones of Amatlala. Amatlala Taba, that side of Mashashani. Most people around there, they are actually Ndebeles, who are now who convert into Pedi speaking people to an extent that they even converted their surname, Bo Jonas Gwangwa. So the ones that didn't want to call themselves Gwangwa, they change and call themselves Kwakwa, but they are Gwangwas. So that's the side where my wife comes from. So there's no any relation. But your pettiness could not move me. Now there is a guy who looks after me now. You see this guy behind the wife of Ket Matlala. That picture you used and said Matlala's bodyguards or protectors were looking after Malema's wife, and you put the cat's wife with a bodyguard and you say that's my wife. That's not my wife. The guy in that picture now works for the EFF. So the thing with protectors is that they move from one place to the other, they rotate, so we can't be held accountable for such a nonsense. But we have nothing against, we have nothing to do with Matlala. And that's why I was there at the prison. I asked him questions. And I did so without being shaken or any other thing. I took a decision when I went to Matlala's thing to be psychological in my approach and to speak to his conscience with an hope and aim that I can break him, that when you speak to his soul and conscience, he will be able to say, look man, this is not right, because Matlala might not have had anyone who spoke to him the way I did his entire life. Oremagai, what is this now? Like, why are you doing what you are doing? That's why I had to say to him, speak to Jerry's mom. He struggled and he thought he's going to evade that thing, and I said, this is my time, it's not your time. You are going to speak to Jerry's mom. Because psychologically I thought in the conversation with the mother, the way it is, the conscience might kick in and he's able to break and say, no man, I have to just accept my wrongdoings. What is conscience? You ought to live here knowing it. Is that thing that Julius Mkhwanazi did at Madlanga Commission, where the lies are in conflict with conscience. You start sweating. Because this one brain is going against itself. They are going the opposite direction, but there's one brain. Okay, you think Julius Mkhwanazi, because he's current, maybe I'm being opportunistic. You remember the national chairperson of MKP, Ntlego?
Yes.
What is his name? Nkosi Nati Ntlego.
Yes.
When his conscience had to declare a swimming pool a fire pool, you remember he was sweating. He was also fire pool. That's conscience. When you do those things of competency tests, they put things on your fingers and then make you sit on some chair and all of that. They call it what? Polygraph. They make you sit there and then they start asking you questions. You must sit, so even under your feet they put some equipment. You must answer honestly, because if you don't, conscience kicks in. And someone was telling me a story that when they put him through the competency and then they asked him the same question 3 times, and the conscience came back that now he has to confess or it's true, but he said no. Instead of saying yes, this finger stood up. This one, he just found his finger up like this, and then he knew no, he's gone. I don't know, if I had anything, I was going to cut this finger. I don't want it anymore. It just stood like this. He didn't give you permission to stand. That's what I wanted to do to Matlala. You approach different scenarios with different approach. And being a student of psychology, I know that myself. That's why you try to play psychological games with me. I know this one is taking chances and it's not going to get to me because I know this game. So I was trying that. To an extent, I succeeded because Jerry's mom sent me a message and thanked me. And said, for the first time I felt represented. That what I've been longing for, that someone should hold this guy accountable about my son. It happened today and I'm happy. If I can make one African mother happy, you guys, I know, will never do anything to please you. That's why we stand, Somlong. Thank you.
And that they are full members of the G20, and they'll call on the international community to make sure that they talk to the United States of America to end whatever that the United States of America is doing, because Donald Trump said they will not allow them to participate in the G20 that will be held next year in the United States of America, because they refuse to come here and participate. And they also claim that the G20 became G100. So for that matter, they don't need South Africa to be part. But Julius Malema is saying that they are also full founding members and there is nobody that can dictate to them. And that when it came to this one, he liked the response of Cyril Ramaphosa because he acted the way a leader should act, and they deserve every respect from other people. And that is why always we say that as Africans, until we unite to do things, we can never see the way forward. When the United States of America decided to issue this statement, we were expecting that if African Union was truly an organization that was serving the interests of the African, they would have been quick to respond to the United States of America, making the United States of America to understand that we are sovereign people and we have every right, and they can't just sit down to determine what they think will happen in their soil, as long as every other member is equal. This tells us clearly that Africans, we are not equal to these people. No matter how much they make us try to see ourselves, they don't always see us to be equal to them. If not, why would the United States of America decide not to participate in the G20 and still go further to tell us that because they did not come here and we didn't do their bid, we need not to be part of them and we cannot step our foot on their soil? And we've seen that the international community is always quiet when it comes to things that have to do with the African. And it is Africans that need to fight for our true sovereignty, because if we continue to be calling on these people, they will never speak in the favor of the African. They are always there to make sure that they serve the interests of each other. And that is why sometimes Dr. Arikana always say that she don't see the reason to which we are part of these people, because all their institutions are never there to benefit you, the African. But no matter how much other people try to let our leaders understand, our leaders will always find one or two reasons to continue to worship these organizations created by the oppressor. We are trying to see ourselves as equal, but whenever we gather around the table, they always try their best to make sure that they tell us who we truly are. And it is because the leaders that we have leading the African are puppets, because what they are doing to Cyril Ramaphosa or any other democratic elected president, they can never do that to Mali, Niger and Burkina Faso. We saw when Trump decided to impose whatever ban on Mali, Mali retaliated, and that was how the United States of America decided to also overturn whatever decision they made concerning Mali. And if Africa, we don't take our sovereignty into our hands and we continue to be puppets, to be dancing to their tune, we'll continue to be here and they will continue to humiliate us day in, day out. We need to fight for that thing that we deserve, because if we continue to be begging them to give it to us, we will never get it. And this is the time for us to continue to fight for our unity. The leaders that are leading us are never there to make sure we have peace, because they want to protect the interests of other people instead of the African. Our brothers and sisters in DRC are suffering, yet African Union is quiet. They went for whatever peace, which we know it was a business deal and not a peace deal, yet the leaders are quiet. But the day that DRC will have a military leader who is in the interest of the people in DRC, will see that the standby force of African Union will be activated. And it is time for the African to stop deceiving himself and really fight for our true respect on the global stage. We need to show this world that we need our dignity, and we can only get that by fighting for our freedom. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make African great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, Southern Africa, and in South Africa.